have to tell Adel that when you asked me to come to this conference, and I don't go to conferences, I don't go anywhere, I'm every so often wheeled out as a Buddhi to make a speech, but I stayed home now. I'm retired with my grandchildren. But when Adel told me to come, I obeyed orders, and my husband, Richard, said to me, I can't understand, I've got to meet this man. He's giving you orders and you're taking it. So Adel, you're a better man than I know. And I want to also use this opportunity to thank everybody in America, all the Zorros in America, for the way they welcomed me and Farida, and organised a trip from Homey to Brainton and Roshan to Arzan, to everybody. I was treated like a princess, and I'm so grateful. There's a belief in the world that you ask Aura Mazda which family you want to be born into, which community. And I'm very sure that I had listened to Freddie Mercury's song, Having a Good Time, and I said, I want to be a Zorro. I want to have a good time, and I want to make sure that everybody else has a good time. We come from a wonderful community. And let me tell you all that we are known around the world. We are known, we're known because of the good works we've done. And when I was in British politics, I would knock on people's doors and you'd be surprised. Of course, Gujaratis all knew, but all the Indian communities knew Parsis. And I would always be given a welcome. And even the British, the old Raj British, of course, thought we were the tops. And the people in the 60s who had come to India as hippies knew the Parsis and their hospitality. So it's been wonderful, and it is wonderful to be a Zoroastrian. And I'm so privileged to be with you all today. Now we're going to be enjoying ourselves, but I just would like to just comment on some of what's happened here. I think the organization has been absolutely brilliant. I go to lots of organizations all over the world, and this is absolutely fabulous. The mixture of speakers who have been inspirational. From yesterday, from Dr. Fazeen, brilliance. That's our community, brilliance. The comprehensive charity of Dina. I sat there and I actually wanted to weep. Our MC here, Mr. Vakil. Mr. Vakil, I'm married to a Vakil as well, and I sleep with him every night. And I can't think of anything more wonderful than you. I think you're the most humorous MC I've seen anywhere in the world. We were privileged to have, and I think the quality that endears to me most is the big-heartedness, the generosity, and not just generosity to our community, to everybody. So we see the whole world, we have a tolerance and a love for everybody, and I think she brought that across. And I thought what was very interesting also was one point she made about negativity, which was infighting, and I think because we're I think in a private group here, I can say that is a weakness. And I think we should just stop it now. And I was very impressed with Neville Shroff bringing up the whole concept of Parsi Panchayat. I think it's important that if we go around the world talking about honor and integrity and doing the right things, then our own community should behave properly towards those who are disadvantaged. And I thought it was very brave and courageous of him to bring it up, and I endorse that. And I have seen infighting in our diaspora in England, and it saddens me. It really saddens me, because we are a great people and we have really remarkable people in our community, and we don't need to do that. We're too small to do that. We should actually be promoting our community and promoting our young. And I want to tell everybody that I work with young people, and every year at the Asher Centre we have young Zoroastrians that come. And Adrian will tell you that we have young people from every part of the world. We're now the main provider for the European Union for leadership training, sustainable living, and the arts. But every year, for one long weekend, we have young Zorros. And they are just magnificent. They are so full of life, they've got such passion. And all they talk about is the infighting in the community and about the way that they're not really valued. And I have to tell you, they're exceptional. And I think we should really invest in them. And I think we will tell you a little bit about a program we're going to do in March, which has been initiated by Sinaya Master from New Zealand to bring really the most dynamic of the young Zorros from around the globe together so they can network with each other, get to know each other, have fun, and also be a voice for us in the wider community for the next generation. And I think that's a really important thing to invest in, because I'm really very, very tired of my generation talking about investing in young people and then we run them down. And we never actually give them what they need. And what they need is confidence building and a belief in them. And I just think they're marvelous. And Adrian will tell you, I mean, Adrian is now become an honorary Zorro, and he says to me every year, I just love being with the young Zoroastrians. Now, we're going to show you a very quick slide, which was produced when we went to America, but it was also used when I spoke at NASA, and it was used at George Washington University, and just recently, I was asked to give the awards for all the universities around the world, which was held in Dublin. And the award was the Gold Award, and it was called after Thomas Clarkson, who was the original abolitionist in Britain. And I wrote his biography when I was director of Anti-Slavery International. And we managed to get a plaque up to him in Westminster Abbey. And they decided that they would call the International University Awards after Thomas Clarkson because it was his time at Cambridge when he answered an essay question, should any man be enslaved against his will? And he got the gold medal. And he decided that if what he'd written in his research was true, then he should see the end of slavery. And of course, we still have slavery today, but it was because of him in 1807 that the transatlantic slave trade was stopped by the British. And then in 1834, the British stopped slavery in the British Empire. I have to tell you that I've also written about Dadabai Naraji. He is my hero, and he is beyond understanding, as Rashna says. I won't talk about him because I think you know about him, but I would just like to mention about the Tartars, because I think one of the qualities we have, which didn't come out this morning, was a sense of defiance. And I say that because I think that we defy what people expect of us. And that's why we're so great. And we believe in justice. And we fight for other people's justice. And I think that's really important. The largest business house is the Tartars. And even more fascinating to me is the concept, which I believe in, of you reap what you sow, as they say in the Bible. And the Indian national movement started with the salt marches. And who do you think owns British salt? Tartars. So you see, everything comes around that goes around. And I'm very fortunate to be part of this community, and it is because of my ancestors and what they suffered in Iran, and their defiance. They kept their religion going. And my grandfather, it took him 4 years to walk from Yazd to India. And he made an empire. He was the richest man in Calcutta, Khan Badr Mazda. And they had guts. That's what they had. They had fire and they had guts in their belly. And I think we've still got it. I think we've got it. I think we've got to celebrate it at every occasion we can. And we're going to play games. Adrian is a master of games we play. But we're just going to show you the video very quickly, because unless you come to the Asher Center, you don't experience the sacredness, you don't experience how people's lives are changed and their lives are transformed. And it's often the first time they ever hear about Zoroastrianism. They don't know anything about Zoroastrianism. It's not a Zoroastrian center, it's a center for everybody. It's sacred for the whole world. But the principles that we run it are Zoroastrian. And so it's a very short thing, and then we'll start playing games. And in the games, we'll learn about leadership and other qualities, I hope.
The founder of the Asher Center, Zerbanoo Gifford, was born in India in 1950. At the age of 3, she came to live with her parents, Kitty and Bailey, in London, where they ran a hotel business. On her 21st birthday, she met Richard, a human rights lawyer, to whom she has been happily married ever since. They have 2 sons, Mark and Alex, who have grown up participating in their parents' shared passion for justice. The family has now expanded to include Mark's wife, Monica, and 3 grandchildren. Zerbanoo's heritage goes back to ancient Persia. Her life and achievements are typical of her ancestors' Zoroastrian faith. They were followers of Zoroaster, the first prophet to proclaim the one God, free will, and the endless battle between good and evil, culminating in a day of judgment when we are all accountable for our thoughts, words, and deeds. Zerbanoo has combined the Zoroastrian traditions of public service and philanthropy with fighting for others' rights, women's empowerment, and ending child labour. Zerbanoo's public life started in 1982 with her political election victory in Harrow, London. This gave her the opportunity to chair commissions and advise political leaders, meet foreign dignitaries, clean up the environment, and champion women's equality. She has campaigned tirelessly for children's education and was director of the oldest human rights organization in the world, Anti-Slavery International, bringing to the world's attention the pressing need to end modern-day slavery and child exploitation. She was also involved with the anti-apartheid movement, being chosen to present the People's Petition to Mrs. Thatcher at 10 Downing Street, calling for full mandatory sanctions against the racist regime in South Africa and for the release of Nelson Mandela. Her work in the interfaith movement led her to meet many religious leaders, including Pope John Paul II and Archbishop of Canterbury, George Carey. Zerbanoo has authored 7 books in which she championed the noble campaigns of outstanding individuals, including her 2 heroes, Dadabanaro Chain, to end the transatlantic slave trade. In 2004, Zerbanoo was awarded a Nesta Fellowship, Britain's National Endowment of Science, Technology and Art, for which she interviewed and wrote about 300 women from 60 countries whose inspirational lives have changed our world. Undoubtedly, Zerbanoo's greatest achievement has been the founding of the Asher Centre, which works for the empowerment of young people. Located in the Royal Forest of Dean in England, the Asher Centre has been transformed from a run-down house and neglected land into an elegant Georgian home with magnificent gardens. Today's visitors are stunned by the beauty of the environment, with its rose and tulip gardens, its biodynamic orchards and vegetable beds, its meandering stream running through the grounds, and its sacred grove and labyrinth. New buildings have been erected for educational purposes, including the Pavilion Training Studio and Eco-Lodge. In honour of Tolkien, who took inspiration from the Forest of Dean to write his famous trilogy Lord of the Rings, a children's area has been created called Hobbiton, which they share with hobbits and fairies, of course. The Asher Centre is recognised as a magical place where people receive inspiration for their lives. They become more conscious of their life purpose and are able to connect more deeply with nature, each other, and their higher selves. The Centre has an outstanding track record in delivering transformative education in the fields of interfaith understanding, sustainable development, and the performing arts. It is a major provider of the Erasmus Plus programme for non-formal education, sponsored by the European Union in partnership with the British Council. This enables young people from all over Europe, including the Balkans, Baltic states, the Middle East and the Caucasus region, to attend residential training courses free of charge. One example, for which Asher won a Best Practice Award, involved teenage orphans from Ukraine, Georgia and Armenia. Social cohesion. Young Arab and Jewish Israelis rehearsed plays together, which they performed back in their homeland, successfully bringing together their divided communities. Young South Africans from the townships of Johannesburg devised plays on African themes, one of which was presented to Nelson Mandela at his home. Asher also runs an annual leadership program for postgraduate Indian women from disadvantaged backgrounds. They return to India as peace ambassadors with a greater sense of social responsibility and have worked in prisons, schools and old people's homes. Touched by their interaction with the Indian women, members of a neighbouring community for adults with special needs asked if they too could become peace ambassadors. After 3 years training, they are now proud to be gold medal peace ambassadors. Asher was chosen by the British Council to take the lead in a 2-year international project to develop an innovative competence framework for peace educators. Together with partner organisations from Latvia, Germany, Turkey and the Netherlands, Asher produced a manual called Designing Learning for Peace, launched in 2016. At Asher, people of different nationalities and religions learn about each other's traditions. Courses are offered on intercultural and interfaith themes to foster open-mindedness and an understanding of each other's beliefs. Asher also hosts regular courses on sustainable living for young people concerned about the environment and wishing to lead a healthier lifestyle. During these courses, they learn about the principles of biodynamic agriculture and experience the joys and challenges of working on the land. Young people have the opportunity to interact with distinguished speakers and experts in various fields, such as editor and peace pilgrim Satish Kumar, local MP Mark Harper, leader of the House of Lords Baroness Royal, and member of the European Parliament Glyn Ford. Volunteers from all over the world come to Asher for between 1 month and a year and take part in the centre's activities of gardening, preparing meals, and hosting groups. Asher also sends young people from Britain to volunteer abroad in such countries as Serbia, Spain, and Albania. Some examples of the many young people who have benefited from the Asher experience are Cyprian, a Kenyan athlete who was supported to take his maths degree in England and is now serving in the British Army. Sally, a Chinese singer who was unable to complete her opera training in Wales and is now running her own theatre in Tenerife. Ted, a local unemployed school leaver who, after his gardening apprenticeship at Asher, where he met his American wife, is now working as a biodynamic gardener in upstate New York. And Gianni, a young gentleman from Verona looking for his life's direction, who, after being mentored by Zerbanoo, went on to graduate in peace studies and is now overseeing the refugee program in Venice. These and the thousands of other young people who testify to their life-changing experience at the Asher Centre and go on to become active change makers in the world are the true fulfilment of Zerbanoo's vision and her lasting legacy. And seeing just a little bit visually of what our centre consists of, and also the activities that we get up to. I just thank you, Zerbanoo, for giving me the title Honorary Zoroastrian. I also wanted to thank you all for welcoming me so warmly to this event as a non-Zoroastrian, or perhaps now I can officially say an honorary. I didn't really know a Zoroastrian before I joined the Asher Centre in 2006. Like many of the people that visit the Asher Centre, I was introduced to this wonderful religion, ancestry, heritage, and values. And I'd just like to give you an example of how young people come across it at the Asher Centre. So traditionally, every single group that comes to the Asher Centre gets a tour around the grounds. And we start in the Rose Garden, and they are all asked the question, where does the word paradise come from? First of all, we ascertain that most people have that word paradise in some form in their own language. And they guess, all the Greeks think it comes from Greece, of course. The Latin is mentioned. Sometimes they say Sanskrit. But actually, few people know that it comes from ancient Persia, the Avesta language. And when they then discover that, we say, well, what do you think it meant? And of course, it meant walled garden. So I'm led to believe. And that is why at Asher we have created a garden. Because the walled gardens of ancient Persia reminded people of heaven, and hence the word paradise came into all the languages, Indo-European languages. So we have tried to create at Asher heaven on earth experience for people, so that we can say that the environment that we've created almost provides 50% of the work that we have to do as trainers and educators. It's there in the environment, and to be sure, very soon people who come there experience peace, calm, they begin to reflect better, and then the work that we do is mirrored and supported by the external environment. So what we do at the Asher Centre is called experiential learning. This is a complement to much of the education people have received, which has been more intellectual and head-orientated. We like to say at Asher that we learn through head, heart, and hands. So that the education methods that we have devised and created are all to do with experiencing something first, then reflecting on it for deeper learning. And I like to just quote Benjamin Franklin, who said, "Tell me and I forget. Teach me, and I remember. Involve me, and I learn. So we try and involve the young people at the Asher Centre, and their learning, I think, as a consequence, is deeper and more holistic. So there are many methods that we use, artistic methods, hands-on gardening, exercises like we're going to do today. They get discussion groups. So we use all these non-formal educational techniques. But for what end? Well, for what end is this? That we believe very strongly, and I think this is very much rooted in our tradition here, that in order to change the world, we have to first look to ourselves. So all our exercises and educational methods are designed to enable young people to know themselves better, to develop themselves so that they can lead in social change in the world, so that they can become leaders of social change in the world and create a better world, which young people aspire to. So we start with the self, self-knowledge. And so this exercise will be fun, but there will be serious elements of it, self-knowledge elements, which we'll come to. So now, are you ready to play a game?
Yes.
Good. Right. Now, for that, rearrange them so that there's a bit of space. Higgledy-piggledy. Very good. And we're going to move a bit here. Good. Now, we're going to need volunteers to sit on these chairs. So, if you'd like to take part in the first round of these games, please come and take a seat somewhere in the middle. This has to be pulled back here. Can I just ascertain as to whether you're playing or just watching? So, you're watching or playing?
Nina, you come in front so that maybe Delna can come first.
And I take it you're just watching? Very good. Okay, so now it's quite simple. We're going to learn by doing and reflect afterwards. So I'm going to walk very slowly towards the empty chair. And my rule to myself is I can't speed up. Once I set a pace, I keep the pace. You have to try and stop me sitting on that chair as a group, right? So just, that's your aim. And you have two rules. One is that if you lift your bottom off the seat, you can't sit down on the seat again. You're up, right? No, you're out. You're not out. You're up, and you have to find a new chair. You can't sit back on the same chair. And you observers, you can make sure that you're noticing these things, okay? The next rule is that you can run, you can go as quick as you like, but you have to be careful with your team members. Yes? So that's an extra little element you have to take care of. Once you're up, you have to try and sit on the chair to stop me sitting on it. But you can't return. They're trying to block me walking. Wonderful. Okay, no, the only way you can stop me is by occupying the chair that I'm trying to get to. No other physical methods are allowed. Very ingenious, though. They're trying to create a barrage for me. No, it's not like that. Here I go. See how easy it was for me. Okay, we'll try that one again. Okay. We'll do it a few times and then we'll just see what you guys want. We call it the energy triangle. And we have three animals that we're going to, because they're descriptive and they're good for our imagination. At the top here, no, at the bottom here, we have tiger. Then we have a sloth. Everyone knows what a sloth is. And then we have swan. Three very, very different animals. And in Asher, we like to draw on the ancient traditions and religions and wisdoms of the world. So we have drawn here on the Bhagavad Gita, where it's mention of the three gunas. Lord Krishna is educating Arjuna into the three gunas. And you can liken these animals to the swan, sattva, sloth, tamas, and tiger, rajas, for those that know their Hindu scripts, or Sanskrit scripts, rather. These energies, as the animal suggests, we have with the tiger a very high level of energy. And you could call it restlessness, passion, you could call it erratic behavior,
but action is the main thing. Action. With the sloth, we have the opposite. We have a very low energy. It's slow. It's apathetic. But it's also the principle of rest. So if tiger is activity, sloth is rest. Both important things in life. And at the top there, we have the swan, which is balance. And the swan is calm, clarity, self-awareness, and in that sense is the top of the triangle because it's harder to attain. A lot of us in life go between tiger and sloth, tiger and sloth, tiger and sloth. But it's noticed that it's harder to rise to the swan level and to do a little bit more at that level. So in an exercise, if we had more time, we would do many exercises now to try and lift our energy to swan. Where do you think we've been in the last 20-odd minutes? Monely. Okay, a lot of tigers in the room, which is great. A lot of activity, a lot of getting up, showing enthusiasm, being responsible, wanting to play the game. Brilliant. We also discover this with the young Zorros at the Asher Center. Very much tigers. We also have other groups where people are just sitting back and watching. They can't get their bottom off the chair. So we have a lot of sloths as well, but not many in this group, I have to say, which is interesting. So they need to be more alert, more attentive, sit on the edge of the seats, not just leaning back. Let's just all become, as a matter of, for fun, for play, and this involves all of you around the circle as well. Let's just start with sloth. This requires you to lean back on your chair now, to pat your belly a little bit. You've had a good lunch, maybe. And to just feel that sense of poise and rest. But as though nothing's going to get you off that chair, really. Not for a good while anyway. And just relax back into this sloth or tamas energy. And you might notice your foot still tapping. That's a bit of tiger left in you. You might notice that you're getting a little bit restless. Try and let go of all that and just really sink into sloth. We like sloth at the end of a day, maybe. But I'm asking you to do it now as an exercise. Good. Notice that in sloth you can actually also look out at into the world. So don't close your eyes, just look around and just feel a sense of objectivity, observing, calm. Yeah. Quite hard for tigers. Okay, now let's switch dramatically into tiger energy. Edge of the chairs, foot tapping, ready to go. You don't really like sitting much. There you are. You want to take action in the world. Tap your foot, tap your foot. There you go. And now, go for it, go for it. Up you get. Change seats. Good, there's a bit of tiger energy. Good, 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 good. He's lost his seat. Okay, there we go. It keeps going, you see. So what do we feel about tiger energy? It's active, but there's a certain amount of confusion. Do you feel that? People lost their seats. People weren't observing, because in that passion, sometimes we can lose a bit of focus. We can lose a bit of clarity. So swan energy is the balance. So now I would like you to sit straight upright on your chair. So not leaning back, not forward, ready to go, but poised. A certain readiness, so you're not sitting back and wanting to retire from the world, but neither are you forcing yourself out. Readiness. This, of course, we introduced at the Asher Center meditation techniques in order to really develop this quality. But if you can feel that sense of poise, if you like, clarity, keep your senses awake, awareness of the whole, awareness of self, and in this mode, stand up. Good. And now just take a little look around. And now just walk, those that can, around the space. So you're walking around the chairs. And notice how you don't bump into anybody because you've observed them in advance. You're navigating the obstacle course of life, but with a certain serenity. You can quicken the pace so that you don't feel as though you're getting nowhere. And the lovely image of a swan is that whilst it seems serene on the surface of a lake, its feet are paddling like mad behind it, underneath it, under the water. And this activity is more an inner activity. So feel you're very awake. You stay awake. You're observing around you. You notice everybody. This is this inner activity that the swan energy requires. So it's not tiger. It's more like an inner activity. And now quicken the pace a little bit so that you can really move, but keeping that energy. Lovely. And take a seat. You feel the whole mood in the room changes. Good. Okay, so now, trying to maintain this swan energy, sattva, we're going to play the game again. Keeping awake, keeping alert to each other, mindful. And I know we haven't done a lot to really imbibe this quality, but let's see what happens. So where's the empty chair? I think it might have been removed, but that's okay. Very clever, somebody. Okay, it's back there. Without any discussion of techniques, strategies, let's see whether actually the strategy is more to do with the kind of energy you're bringing to this than any mathematics. Awareness. Super awareness. Are we ready to go? And please remember, if your bottom lifts the seat, don't try and sit down. Trust that somebody else will take it. Yes? Trust. Okay. Ready, steady, go. No panic. Keep the calm. Swan. Think swan. Think swan. Bottom up. Thank you. Okay. How many minutes? 44 seconds. Let's try it immediately again. Don't go back into any sloth or tiger. Okay, where's the chair now? There, okay. Okay. Ready? Are we all sitting? Find our swan positions. Upright, alert, attentive. And shall we try it in silence? Because that's another thing we like to do, is tell other people what to do. Like, you go there, you go there. And then we get up and we lose our own place. That's happened quite a few times, I've observed. So look after yourself, not other people. Yes? But, of course, you're working as a team. Okay. Ready, steady, go. have to get up. But you could have gone in there. You see, trust, trust, trust. There was someone behind you. Up. Okay. Economy of movement. I had to sit there, yes. Okay. Okay. Very good. What's the timing? 2:53. That's our score. Right. Well done. And even that last one, there was somebody that could have lifted it. So a principle here we've noticed is that we can be responsible for ourselves, not for others, and we have to trust our team members that if they will cover us. Yeah. Many times the chair was being blocked by somebody else sitting on it because the person that left was dithering, thinking that they couldn't leave it. Interesting. So there's lots of lessons we can draw on this. But did you enjoy that feeling of working together as a team? And how about from the outside? Was it a nice thing to watch? Very pleasing, isn't it? When a team really works well together. And there's a sense, yes, there was less vocalizing, there was less screaming. There was a quiet, nice energy doing the job. And you could say that there was a maximum efficiency with a minimum of resources used. That is a key, because we were using far too many resources before, all running around trying to save the situation. Huh? So I think just because it felt so nice, we should do it one more time. Does anybody else want to go from the outside? Just to have that feeling?
Was when they were saying panic, panic, I was panicking. So please don't panic. And I think you enjoyed it, which was lovely. So you were enjoying the game. And I think you saw yourselves as a team. And there was obviously about 3 people. There was about 3 people who thought they were leaders, who were taking charge. It was very interesting who they were. And they were young. So it's quite interesting. So I think we better trust young people to take leads. What else did I noticed? That you wanted to win the game. And you also had some clever ideas like removing the chair, allowing the person to sit on the chair, not caring about winning, which was quite interesting, because I've never, ever heard that before. I think those are the main things that I noticed. I mean, we'll discuss in the group the other things you noticed, but I still think that Adrian should tell you what would have been a good strategy. And if you can think of how we can use it in the community, how we can use this exercise to bring the community together and make the community actually use their resources in a clever way. I think that's.
Thank you, Zerbanoo. Good observations. Yes, so perhaps I can ask a few other people for their observations before I tell you a little bit about perhaps how this exercise is used. Anybody make an observation perhaps from those that were seated that they would like to share?
In the initial phases, we had more generals than soldiers. That was a big problem there. And I think in the latter part, when sanity prevailed, it's very rare in our community, when sanity prevailed, we found that there were 2 or 3 leaders who clearly decided this is the way we will go, and the others followed.
Yeah, very interesting. Good, yes. And the leaders didn't do it in a dictatorial way. I have had groups where somebody's insisted on standing on a chair and saying exactly who should move where, when. They think in that moment that they can control the situation by saying, Jimmy there, Francis there, duh, duh, duh. And their brain cannot work fast enough for the complexity of this game and the unknownness of this game because of the person walking can decide. Their brain literally can't work fast enough. So for me, that's a sign that this exercise requires more than one single brain. It requires a collectivism of intelligence, observation, and team spirit that no one person can replace. However, there are some good ideas that we had to ease the game, to make it work better. But in a way, what I was suggesting was the most effective method was when everybody took more responsibility for themselves, less focused on trying to tell everybody else where to move and when, and developed a calm, the swan. That always increases the length of time that a group can continue. Isn't that interesting? So that's something that we can learn from. And it doesn't mean that we have to not be tigers when we need to be tigers, or not be sloth when we need to be sloth, because there are times when we need to sit back and relax, and there are times when we need to be very active and passionate. But to be stuck in any one of those, or to go between one and the other, doesn't seem to work for this kind of form of team spirit, team leadership. So that was this kind of objective of the game. Now, what worked the most for me was when I saw masses of collaboration, domino effects of people, swirling round, jumping on a chair, you know, seeing that beautiful movement carrying on. That's when it was the most dynamic, yes? And that required everybody to be involved, but in that calm way. Do you agree with me? And it also felt the best. When one person was running between one seat and the other, trying to block me, the others were passive, hey? Not a great team spirit. So that could work technically just, but it didn't work as well as when everybody was working together as a team. And that just has such a good feeling. And I like to say at the Asher Center, we practice this in our lives. So Zerbanoo, of course, founded the Asher Center. I'm the artistic director. We have, of course, positions and roles and seniority. Apart from Zerbanoo, I'm the oldest person at the center. We have a few staff who are gardeners and builders, but actually the majority of our people are all in their 20s and 30s. So we have a very young team. And no, there's a lack of hierarchy, and that's what the young people love when they visit us. They don't experience a rigid hierarchy. So Zerbanoo might walk in and want to redecorate a room. She'll grab a young volunteer to ask her for advice. This volunteer, who then redecorated the whole of our volunteer house, was empowered because her decisions on what she thought, she was from Estonia and she wanted everything really zen. Zerbanoo likes color and pictures, but Zerbanoo was willing to give her, I'm just giving an example, the responsibility of redecorating this whole house in her Estonian zen way. And then, didn't you love the effect, the result? And this girl, Maurice, felt so empowered through that she'd been given that role. She's 23. So generally, this ability to work as a team where you draw the talents from each other and observe who's good at what and enable them to grow into their talents by being given responsibility is, I think, what creates this team spirit at the Asher Center. So we try in our way. We're not a big organization. We're 12 staff and 8 volunteers, so we're 20 all in all. And then we have all these groups coming that swells our community to 50, 60 people at a time. But our home group is about 20. And that's why there were about 20 of you there as well. And that's kind of what we try and do at the Asher Center. And I think the younger generation perceive that and feel this involvement, that they can get involved, that they can do what they can actually exercise their talents. And that's the way they grow, through being involved. So thank you very much. Any other comments before we leave from Zerbanoo?
No more comments.
Yes, I had the pleasure. Well, I had to be, didn't I?
All dancing is eye-to-eye contact. And he told me, just don't look at me, just trust me and go heart to heart and just melt into me and you'll do the tango. And in one lesson, I learned the tango because I just went heart to heart. And I think that's really important in all sorts of leadership, that we learn to just trust the person that we're in. And when you trust the person, they actually rise to the challenge. That's, I think, is very important. And I think we are going into a period of history where a lot of things is changing very, very quickly. And I think one of the things we as Zoroastrians can offer is a sense of equality as well, which I didn't mention in the speech. And I think it's very important that we're willing to work with other people and we're willing to allow the sexes,
both male and female. And that's one thing that I think Zareen, in setting up this whole conference, has allowed a lot of women to make keynote speeches. And I think that's remarkable, because I go all over the world and I'm usually just the token woman. And I think it's wonderful, and I think we should praise ourselves for that, because I think so. I want you all to come to the Asher Centre, okay? I want everybody to come, and I think Adel is going to come. But it is an indirect, I mean, one of the things that Rashna will tell you that Professor Mary Boyce said that our religion has directly and indirectly influenced the whole world. And I'm a great believer in indirectly influencing people. And I think that we influence people through the Asher Centre in everything that our religion stands for. The whole idea of sustainable living, we heard a lady come and talk about it, but it comes from our religion, the whole idea of the way we do agriculture. So they see the agriculture. We don't use fertilizers. We have people coming to look at our roses that I planted for my father because he was obsessed with roses as a present for him. But people come to study it, and indirectly they learn about our religion. They learn about equality. They learn about our respect for other faiths. And I think that's really important, because I go to a lot of places around the world, and they're fantastic, but they belong to a certain community. And you have to do what that community wants. So you have to do their form of meditation or their form of whatever it is, yoga. But at Asher, we do everybody's form of yoga, everybody's meditation. So we are totally inclusive. And I think that's one of the things the great Persians did, the huge tolerance. And we've just, last week, just managed to get funding for us to work to bring young Palestinians and Jews together at the Asher Center. They are not the political leaders, but in the next layer down, they are going to be the leaders of their country in 5 to 10 years' time. And they come right across every discipline, so from business to media, to fashion, to social activism. And the Jews love us. And I just get up and I say to the Jews, do you know that it was a Zoroastrian, Cyrus the Great, who released you from servitude in Babylon, but he didn't just release you and said, go back home. He actually gave you the money to build your temple. And in the temple in Jerusalem, there was a drawing of Susa, the capital of Iran, and that was the respect that the Jews had. So I get very upset when they talk about Iran as the enemy, because Iran wasn't the enemy. Iran was their savior and saved them from the Romans. And I love telling Italians when they come that the only place that the Italian Romans never conquered was Persia. They just couldn't conquer us because we were such brilliant horse people. We would be able to ride forward and turn on the horse and shoot the Romans. We did a complete turn, and they just couldn't conquer the Persians. So, you know, as Rushton said, they had a fantastic empire, and we have got in our genes something completely remarkable. I don't know what it is, but I'm very proud of our DNA. It is a fire in the belly, and that's the fire that we worship, I think, in our belly, that we're able to get up and we're able to do what we need to do. And I really think it's important that we invest in our young, because otherwise we're going to lose them. And that'll be the end if we lose them. We don't need to lose them because they're fantastic. Believe me, they're fantastic. We have them every year, and I tell them, you give me back my mojo. Every year I wait for them to come, and I'm completely energized because they're so wonderful. So I think we should invest in them before we invest in anything else. And just know that they're going to do us proud. They're going to do us proud. Maybe a middle generation, my generation, missed out from the greats, you know, the Gigi Boys and the Wadias and all the rest of them. And the JRD Tartars, but we have great people. We have people like Rutten. I mean, I asked Rutten to write the back of my biography, and it was done in 7 minutes. 7 minutes. I mean, he's a chairman of one of the largest industrial houses in the world. There wasn't any, you know, write to me, go through my secretary, write to somebody else. I will consider it. I will get back to you. It was done. And one of the qualities we have is hard work. You know, we expect to work hard to get on in life. We don't expect, you know, it to fall into our lap. So I think we are very privileged We come from a fantastic community, and every time I'm asked, you know, what I am, and I tell them I'm a Zoroastrian, and they don't know, but they do know. And just today, I was in the Seychelles, and my husband was doing a case for the government in Mauritius, and we know the ambassador from Seychelles, so he said, come over. We came over. I was literally treated like a princess in the Seychelles because of the one Parsi family there. And they own the main shop, which is like the Harrods. And when I said I was a Zoroastrian Parsi, every single Seychelles person I came across actually sort of did that to me. So we are known, and we're known by our deeds.
Thank you.
Thank you. To personalities so great. Zerbanoo, may God bless you. May you live longer and grow younger. Adrian, what will we do without you? Every time we see a vacant chair, you'll be in our minds. Let's give them a standing ovation, ladies and gentlemen, so that Adrian gets to see so many vacant chairs. No, it was very, the learnings, thank you very much. The learnings are very, very simple, but so appropriate in our day-to-day life, in our professional life. We can take it to our corporates as leaders and teams, and this is what great leaders are made about. In a lighter vein, my name is Shahryar Vakil, as you know, and I was thrilled when she said, I sleep with Vakil every night, and that warmed the cockles of my heart. So what can I say? That's right. We are a hell of a great community. We are very broad-minded, you see. All right. But thanks for your being here. Adrian, that's lovely. If we cannot come to Asha, I'm glad that at least for a short while you brought Asha to us. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, once again to Zerbanoo and Adrian. It's time for felicitation. I would call upon Roshan Rivet now. I think Rohinton's wife was the founder of this, to kindly come forth and very graciously and gracefully hand over a small memento to Zerbanoo. Okay. Let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen. May I call upon Natalie Gandhi to kindly felicitate our friend, philosopher and guide for this afternoon, Adrian Locher. All of you stand together.